But I say thank you for your patience. I apologize profusely. I'm just trying to do 10 things at one time because um, I'm the only one left here in America from the staff. Other guys are traveling already, and we have, you can imagine, a lot of details to work out when you're dealing with stuff in a different country. So I apologize. Okay, so let me go through some housekeeping here for a moment, and then we'll try to push further on another important sugya here. The housekeeping consists of, so there will be a opening psicha in Bnei Brak. We're working on the details. Likely, for those who asked, likely it'll be in the home first, probably in the home of a guy in Reish Yeshiva, Rav Gershon, who doesn't go very many places. So it'll be our cover to go up to him. We're gonna have to stop in there a little bit, but that's covered at Torah. And from then, Rav Dave Landa will be addressing us. We're still working on the venue and some of the details. So for those who have general questions, yes, those of you who would like to join Maybach, and I know a lot of you did not respond. A lot of you said no, that is okay. For those who would like to join, there will be an opening in Bnei Brak, which requires people to come from the airport. I assume I certainly will have many chaverim on the flight. I'm leaving on Motzei Shabbos on Ichfar Mitzitziyanim. Many years ago, we decided that security is best in halal. So now, even though you have to put up with a lot of Irishkeit in there, but that's it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you should have gotten an email to this effect. You have to read emails if you're coming to Eretz Yisrael. If you're not coming to Eretz Yisrael, you also have to read emails, because we're trying hard as much as we can to integrate the program so the people who were not able to make it feel that they're a chelik with this, trying hard, not always easy because it's a new thing, but trying hard to do that. You have to read your emails because details will be there. The details are important. For instance, the link that you would need to press to be on next week on the Shiur. We do not yet know if it's a normal Zoom link or because of the fact that there's a special live stream video from whatever. These details are out of my province. I Baruch Hashem get to deal with the sugyas. So we don't yet know which thing you'll have to push if you want to participate. So you have to watch your emails. We'll try to do it as much in Kiddush Levana ICSA to be able to know. Number three, on Wednesday night, on Tuesday night, there'll be a siyum. That's Baruch Hashem, Megillah was taken. Wednesday night, there'll be a siyum because of the efforts of Bnei Chabura. For the efforts of Bnei Chabura, Wednesday night, we chazed my cotton, and there will be a siyum. We'll see if we can machabed Bnei Chabura to participate there. We are still short. We're kind of farish away from our goal of buying a gift for our Rabbanan Weiss and Kallah. So those of you who would still like to contribute as a course type to them, kindly contact Rav Pesach. I'm looking forward to resigning my job as this nudger here, which I do not like. But I do think that we need to do something for them. We bought them a small gift, whatever. And anybody who wants to chelik in this, there's a course to tell you. We're asking you to pledge a little bit of money, and so we can get it done. Okay, that's that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yes, questions. Obviously, we're gonna have some changes to the schedule. There'll be no shiur on Motzei Shabbos. There will be a shiur tonight at 8:00. Try to do the second part of the Shmi and Krisha, which you're about to hear right now. Then on Sunday, the shiurim are as follows. Rav Weiss will be on Sunday, working on getting something good, and whether or not we can live broadcast for Gershon of Dave remains to be seen because we're off site, so we don't know about that. It will certainly be taped. Whether or not you can participate while it's going on, that's already moving target. We'll let you know. On Monday, we have the schedule as we explained, which is I had to move the schedule back. There was a tussle about this, but I made it clear that the Ilam has to be able to get on, so it can't be too early in the morning. That X's out California to my chagrin, but the shiur will be at 10 in the morning and at 11, and I hope you'll get an email on Monday. Rabbi Kaplan will speak Tuesday. Rabbi Weiss will speak Wednesday. Rabbi Kallah will speak on Thursday. Rabbi Gottesman will speak. All four English speakers, all four Yudele, Rabbi Taira. For each of those shiurim, there'll be an hour Hachanah shiur as usual. So that's the schedule. The morning shiurim, because of the time difference, cannot be live. We will tape them. And what I think we're going to do is the week after, since it won't be easily for me to anyway arrange live for the week after. The week after, we'll continue Sugya of Kriyas Torah, and those shiurim that I'm not able to look into will be basically Rav David Cohen and the Baruch Chazrachi will be on the schedule in addition to live shiurim by a guy named Rabbi Weiss and Rabbi Ad Khan, Lemal Torah. Okay, Rav Pesach, if you can put on, I wrote you an email before. I don't know if you saw it. You can put on the package. Any questions? I just made a 6-minute monologue here. Are you telling me there's not one question whatsoever? Okay, I accept that. So, in addition, I'm gonna have to take if we get close in the middle of Eretz, which is the only reason I will be mafsek. I'll ask Mechila because it's very hard to get these people, and if they call, I have to pick up. So the question of whether Kriyas Torah is a chayvas tzibur or chayvas yachid, we never settled it. It seems to be a machlekes in the Chayim, right? Ruv Shal Gedolei Chayim hold it's a chiyuv chayvas tzibur with many halachic implications that flow out of them. Another kutza Beresham Sofik Nechayadam and HaRav Reb Chaim Brisker is that it is a chayvas yachid, which is with atei in various different ways, two or three mahalchim and the lumdus wise how to handle that. And allied to this question is, what do you have to do? Is there a chiyuv to listen to Kriyas Torah, or is there a chiyuv to read Kriyas Torah and you are yaitz somehow otherwise? So obviously, this question overlaps with the previous question, and many of the marmukaimis that we saw are shara rekayim here, but there's a whole new mahalach which I'm going to try to cram in here today and tonight, and have to see we can be mashal. But one of the templates for this is the Mishnah in Megillah and Daf Chav Daled. After the Mishnah of Chav Gimel, which we learned the last few days, which talks about the fact that you need a sarah for a list of things, and there was a big tussle in the Rishonim and the Achronim, whether or not Kriyas Torah is there because of Mikdashti, or as the Ran says, Kriyas Torah is there as the Takana, and the whole Torah on what kind of Takana it is, whether it's Reis Rabbanim, Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's fascinating. It's interesting because you see there, Achronim go mikatza lekatza, some of them on all the way from that it's an absolute deraisa to all the way down to it's a weak Rabbanim. Weak because if it's the Chayvus Tzibur, then everybody can shlach and say, I know Yosef Snyder is not Mr. Kriyas Torah in 60 years, so why do I have to be? And everybody in Detroit can go to sleep except for 10 guys, because we know for a fact that the Tzibur has created a Kriyas Torah. Assuming Detroit is all one thing, which it isn't. All the issues that you can imagine about what a Tzibur is, separate silo. So, but you don't have to do anything. So it's Rabbanat, you don't have to do all the way that it's a Dairaisa, and Moshe Rabbeinu's Takan had a force of Dairaisa. That's the range of stuff in between. Now, once we know that these are the basic sheets of the Shine, the question is, what do you have to do? So the Mishnah says, a strange Mishnah, Hamafter B'Navi, not strange, wrong word, a challenging Mishnah, Hamafter B'Navi, who Paris al Shema, whoever gets the Haftarah, who? He is the person who is Paris al Shema, who Erev Teva, who Nais says Kapov, who Nais says Kapov. What does this mean? So Rashi says, Hamafter B'Navi, Misha Ragal Hafter B'Navi, So you have to understand a little bit background here about Chris Terber's Man Chazal. So there was Shiva Kruyim, and unlike today when Mafter is a grace of covered, freeze there, please for Pesach. If Mafter is a grace of covered, Mafter in those days was a bissel because it wasn't from the Shiva Kruyim, was a bissel not so chashuv. So Chazal needed to upgrade Mafter a little bit. So they were metakein that as a pious. They gave him other things to do to upgrade his chashivas level. What are these other things that to do? So he's Paris al-Shema. What's Paris al-Shema? Paris al-Shema is a technique which is discussed a lot in the Gemara, but it has fallen into disuse. B'yameinu, so the Olam does not know so much about Paris al-Shema. We'll talk about that. Rashi says, okay, he's the person who davened Musaf Shachris, Shachris, Al Yada, says Rashi b'Shvilai. Okay, so now we need to define two things. We need to define what's happening here in time, who's being made to what with whom, and second, we don't even know what Paris al Shema is. There's a third subplay here, which is who nice is kappa. What does that mean? Who nice is kappa? Anybody? Agram, you open everybody up. Everybody's a panelist. Everybody can do whatever they want. Somebody talk to me. Where some of my regulars are not here. I have some.
Everybody is either open as panelist or has the ability to open their microphone and speak.
Okay, Rabbi said, listen, I'm going to make an appeal, personal appeal. It's very helpful for me. One of the challenges of learning together with people on Zoom is you can't see them, you don't know. You know you're there because I can see your box, often with pseudonyms, ranging from Lam to Agayna Gadol. I don't know who picked Agayna Gadol, but okay. First of all, I have to be Meicha. I got a copy of the book finally. Came a day too late, but I got a copy of the book. And they wrote one of the honorifics next to my name. And I was the book, and I said, please read it right away. And they said, no, don't be Meicha now. David Atayr, giving me a title like that just degrades every real Talmid Chachamim. So you'll see what I mean when you see the book. Okay, that's the Machan number one. The second thing is, anybody who opens it up and I can actually see you gives me chizuk. Thank you, Shlomo, and thank you, Morris, two old friends of mine. I appreciate it because you understand when you see the other person. If I'm Lahavdol, then Elef Avdallah, there's business meetings that we now conduct by Zoom, right? The bosses don't let you hide behind the boxes. They want to see you, right? Because that's how you get to have team interaction. So that's team interaction to sell we are selling the most chashuv stuff of all, and that is the Torah Kesha. So team interaction is even more chashuv. Thank you. Okay, so these are the two questions we have to. So kasha, what does it mean? Who nice as kappa?
Duchen.
What does that mean, duchen? Are there any kahanim at this call? Any kahanim? No, not
Yes.
one kain.
You have
Not
a
one
kain
kain.
here.
20 people, not one kain. Who's a kain? I know we have a Levi for sure, unless.
Markov is a kain.
Wow, oh, I forgot. Rabbi Sai, Pesach, are you there? Is Pesach on today? Not.
No, he's not on.
He's not on. Uh-huh. Okay, so somebody. I don't want to disturb the flow here. Before we finish, we're going to put on Rav Eliezer's ha'ara that he sent to me out. As always, a nifladika find. It goes back to the first year on the kind of Moshe Rabbeinu. He sent me an email, which without asking his rishus, but I'd like to share it all with all of you. The kids are a part of the kind shine. So what does that mean? Who nice is kappa? All kind of a nice at the pine. So here's the spirit of dialogue between the Beis Levi and the Shlomo Chaim Vilna and all sorts of other assorted characters. It's one of the main pillars of Shiurim and Shemei Goineh. But to bring a right for this Mishnah, Says the Beis Halevi that one kain can be mighty other kahanim in Berchas Kahanim, because that's what it means.
If I could interject, it used to be a minig in Italy that one kohen was mitzi the other kahanim.
So, Eliezer, I'm just
Rav
taking
Usher
this.
Weiss brought that minig down when he gave a shiur on it.
Okay, so there was a big literature. I use that word a little bit nervously because it's a secular word, but there's a big Torah literature on this subject. We will makabate a lot of it into an article in Shiur, which normally, if we weren't traveling this weekend, I would figure out a way to download it for you and send it to you. But it's a fascinating question because what exactly happened? Anybody know where this action was, where it started? I'm sure, Leslie, you know. What's the name of the place where all the whole story started?
Could be it was in Tripoli. I'm not sure if I remember.
Trieste, close. You got to
Trieste.
see. Trieste is in Italy. What is
Trieste.
famous for in the outside world? Trieste is famous for. It's got a port, there's beaches, so the guys go there to do what they do. What do we go to Trieste for? Anybody know? What's to mean Trieste? Not only we, a gar chashuv v'yid named Tzala Kaim of Vilna that we already bumped into in these shiurim was in Trieste, and he saw this meeting in Italy that one kain was mevarach for others. I'm not going to go now into the entire story because it's a fascinating one which requires a whole hour shiur. But the bottom line is they went to Trieste because that's where Esregim, Yanava Esregim grew or sold. It was the center for that. In order to bring these back to up north, to Poland and Litva, someone had to be there to make sure the Esregim were, and no less than Gedal Yisrael took care of this. And they saw this. This is a segue. Said to Beis Halevi, if in fact you can be mitzi, one kind of mitzi, another one, that's pshat in the Mishnah. But who nice is kappa? Otherwise, what's pshat? Who nice is kappa?
The other pshat is that he started and they followed.
Okay, Eliezer, you're right. As always, you're right as always. Ich denk sich nicht. Only thing is, I'm begging off because one of the subjects that one day we're going to learn is the Yarchei is also the Berchas Kahanim. Of course, is very fascinating, and that will be an important subject we decided. It just happens to be here in this Mishnah. Okay, let me get weiter. The main problem here is the next line. The Mishnah says, "Katan per b'Torah u'b'targam aval ein peiris al shema ve'ein arif ne'ateva." Why not? Says Rashi, "Ein peiris al shema lefi shabala haitzi rab nechavasim." Given she'ein mechuy b'davar, and you might see rab nechavasim. The basic law is if you're not mechuy b'davar, you might see. So the shaila is, what does that mean? You're not yaitza, but what about creation Torah? How can a Torah a cotton be koyrei a Torah if he is not he's not mechuy b'davar? Taisvis. Avalina Paris al Shema, state in Taisvis. I thought I'd be the Machshul Leib Megillah El. Important Taisvis. Cotton has two problems with it. And at Beis Rabbanan cannot be might say one Rabbanan. What are the Beis Rabbanans? The chiyuvim of everybody knows a cotton and other than the chiyuvim of chinuch of Megillah yesh l'hakol fi taf and nashim hayu b'sat l'ag l'shmal bo asrav yukigud. When it comes to Megillah, Taisa says as far everybody afim hayu b'isik zera, therefore afim hayu b'isanes. The parallels to Dal Kaisis are obvious, and this is a set of shiur for another time. Comes along with Beni Yenis and Akaim in a Levil. Min Nil. What a good day lay HaRishayim, coming to the Rav in Provence. Says the following. He says, we're not going to cut and carve a Torah. Because why not? You'll tell me I have to be Yaitse? No. The Chiyuv of Kriya Torah is Shmiya, not Kriya. And therefore, if it's Shmiya, what's the difference? Who created a template for the Shmiya? What's the difference if the Shmiya was created through a cotton or the Shmiya was created through a gadol? Or Yared Lefnei Teva, that's not. He's not mechuy b'davar, and therefore he can't be mitzi acher b'dei chavasa. This vart, of course, raises more questions than it solves. Why? Everyone's had the problem. Why can the cotton be covered Torah? Isn't there an Indian of being yaitza? Somebody's being mitzi, somebody else, and what remains to be seen? Says the Rebbeinu inside the Torah, shmiel etzibur. Oh, she was like, oh, God, in Paris, Shemad, and Mukhi Budari might have the Chabasam, and it's coming to my time. The French school is okay. So the Miri lived in Provence. The battleground for this, for reasons, historical reasons that are not clear on this issue, was all Zeicha to the Gedali Provence. We haven't yet bumped to the Ravid, but we will when we get to the Shemai Psukim. It reminds me, if Baruch Martcha's Gavik calls me back in the middle, I will have to take that call. Zakta Meiri, Zakta Meiri, Vimukatan, Venerai Lights, Rabban Priest Shema Tfila, of Rabbi Mechlin Kvaidu, Kaimai, Cotton Kaira Batira. We're scroll down there. I don't know who's doing the screening, but to scroll down a little bit. Yeah, it was silent. Cut and cover tire. She'ena kavanela shmila sounds like the Benny Anderson. Ve'ain zu mitzvah gemura kashar mitzvahs kshenema kovda. New phrase. It's not a mitzvah gemura. Let's chat in that. Do I want to offer a pshat? What does that mean? Ain mitzvah gemura. So this already lumped it. So everybody knows that when you see such a phrase in the Rishon, all of us trachten in a lumdish way, go to work. It's two ways to learn Rishonim. Learn Rishonim Kipshuta, or sometimes just you can't do that. You need a pshat. What is the pshat here in this Meiri and Zain's Mitzvah Gemura? You have to know which Meiri this is. Because it's brisk. And I was never learned brisk yeshiva, so there's no reason for me to propagate necessarily their Yehugim. The Brisk Rav was well known that he did not accept all Chidushim of the Meiri because it depends which Meiris says. Some Meiris that were published in 1700s, some of them had already a chazakah of Nemanis, but the stuff which came out post-war, he was not so impressed with. I'm not sure when the Meiri of Megillah was printed, but whatever. Meiri says here, Vart. What's the pshat in the Inza Mitzvah Gemura? Chayra, what could say, several ways you can understand this. The Chayra, one could say that again, there's no Maisa HaMitzvah that's necessary here. Why? Because the only Maisa Mitzvah is passive, Shmiya. There's no Indian of Kriya. It's only Shmiya. There's no Indian of Kriya. If it would be an Indian Kriya, that would be similar to being Baitzia Rabnecha, somewhat of a what are we calling it? Of a Paratha Shema or Shemai Esrei. But here you just sort of like a tape recorder. Why is that any different than the other Shemai Kaina? That's a good question. It remains to be understood. And Martin Abaligus Moshe speaks to this, and we'll try to get to that presently. Other Rishonim who weigh in here are Rabbeinu HaRav very early from Agensa, early Balatasis, and he says the reason that our Torah starts with Baruch Hu. We haven't yet gone into this, so we might as well mention here now, as you all know, there's a chiyuv of Baruch Hu before you make the bracha. Is the brachas Torah. What the machayim brachas Torah is a set of shiurim on its own. Why Baruch Hu before also requires an understanding. The Rishonim speak to this. The Rishonim say, at least the Rav in this case says, the chiyuv of Baruch Hu is to be it's like sort of zimun. Baruch Hu Baruch Hu. By say, I am about to undertake a mitzvah. Maybe I'm about to be Yarchei for this mitzvah. Everybody wake up. Everybody open up your boxes on the Zoom. Wake up. Everybody has to be maskim the fact that I am talking allegorically, and I am going to do something here, and I want you all to participate. So wake up, give me your askama, and the way to do that is to be Mekadosh Shem Shemayim by creating a mini davar shabbat. Where do I see this? I see this in the Raven on the bottom on Gimel. Next page. El Nuni Achira Chizkiah, one of the Rishonim, one of the Balitaisius, I'm not sure which, it's not the Chizkiah in Magdeburg because he was later than the Raven. Raven was an early Rishonim in Magensa. Kairav Talamar, Dusam Baruch Hashem, Baruch Baruch Tar V'da Yoy. V'hashafti Loi. Ezra. I mean, okay, so we know Ezra. Moshe Rabbeinu. Next page. Very nice package of things you're going to get. And I am problem with this is the problem is that the Lashon of the Raven seems to be different than the Lashon of the Miri. So do we have a machlokes here between Korban and the Rhineland? Maybe. Because the Lashon here is that the Torah is the Raven Dechavasa. When you answer Amen to the bracha, or maybe if you say then you are creating a template of the ability to be Yitzhak. Can't just walk and say, here I am. Why not? Okay, maybe Chris Torah, why should it be different than Shiur Tzibur? You have to go up to Shiur Tzibur and say, please be mighty to me. Maybe. Does Shiur Tzibur have to have kavanah to be mighty to you? Probably. Is this something that's honored so specifically? No, because we're saying Kazakh, the guy goes up to the Ahmed, we assume that he's going to do so. Mighty to Rav Nech. Maybe I know which halachic scenario this is actually quite interestingly discussed. Anybody know when it comes to davening? Anybody know? Anybody know what I'm talking about? If we're postulating that you need to be Yarchei by Shliach Tzibur, I'm doing one of my Socratic questions, which are unanswerable because nobody can understand my Kruma Mahalchim. But I'm throwing out a question here. When could this issue, when it comes to tefillah, be actually quite important? And the answer is the Poskim discuss a soine. It's hard for all of you tzaddikim to know that there could be such thing as a soine. But the Poskim discuss actually somebody who doesn't like the other guy, and he gets up to daven, and the guy says, everybody except you. Then, if that's the case, what about Kriyas Torah? Same question. I don't like Yankel because he stole my parking spot, or he smashed my car and doesn't want to pay me, or whatever millions of reasons people don't like each other. Today, it's I don't like his political affiliation in Eretz Yisrael, such a wichtige Narishkeiten. So, are you able to do that? So it depends. If it comes to Kriyas Torah, if it's just a shmiya, the way the Miri seems to learn, and Rebbeinu Anderson seems to learn, so what's the difference? I can be a Sainahin Bismarck, not being might use anything. I'm just throwing out the words into the air. And Shlomo Schwartz has to take those words down from the air. So he can be Yaitse the Chiyuv. What's the difference if Chas v'Shalom about Kriya is impossible? This should be the case. So I using his name totally Shaloik Lamaisa. Okay, so barrel. The guy doesn't like barrel. So it's the difference if he doesn't like him. He's not doesn't have to be might see him. If he has to be might see him, maybe if you have a kavana, not to be might see him. And then that person wouldn't be whatever. Kedusha, maybe. Because there's the shots. Adkan, if you look in the Madir on the Raven, he points this out. Mashma on the bottom of Ayin Gimel there, page before. There we go. We had this. Beautiful. Where does he say Shmei Kaina? It doesn't say Shmei Kaina. You have to have some tool. When you're being mighty somebody else, you have to have some tool to create the Haitza'ah. What are the tools? What are the tools? Anybody know? Rambam, Perik, Aleph, Nuchis, Brachais, Salachim, Aleph through Gimel. Anybody know? So there are three mechanisms. Go ahead. Somebody's answering. Go ahead.
Ashmiya v'Sheimeya. You have to have kavana. Both have to have kavana.
So, okay, let me refine that if with your permission. I don't know who's speaking to me. Who's talked to me. So I can. Okay, so the Rambam and Yilchad says 3 ways to be yaitz for somebody else. There is Shmei Kaina, which in fact requires Kavanas Shemei Mashmiya, that we know. There is, based on the Sugan Rosh Hashanah, there is, says the Rambam, Amen. Amen. And that's why you saw in the lashon of the Rishonim here that when you say Amen to the bracha, you are being maskim to be Yaitse. If you don't say Amen, doesn't mean you're not Yaitse. Nobody was mityaches to that yet. Is there such a shita? But if you don't say Amen to the brachas Torah, you're not Yaitse. That requires us to understand what the Mechayev brachas Torah and Torah is. And the third way is to listen from beginning to the end with full kavanah. The two of these overlap. But this is how the Rambam says you can be Yaitse. You can be Yaitse by standard Shemaya Ka'ina, going on to tell the guy to be right to you. You can be Yaitse by saying Amen, which is a mechanism on its own. Or if you do nothing and you listen carefully from beginning to end, you can be Yaitse too. Fine. 1 and 3 overlap. So here says the Madir, we're using Shmei Kaina, V'lei Shmei Ba'ala. Chen Tzar Ben Yel Baravya. We found another Ashkenazi guy to Baltais discussion. Yom Baruch L'Kevet Tzar Mitzvah Dechel Basam. V'Kesh Baruch Anay Ramach Mahavik Amin Shen Baruch Aaron. Basically the same language. This note goes over to the next page. Mashter Ravash Tzarech L'Chavli V'Letzes Shmei Piapera as then he sends you to the Tzionum L'Torah, which we'll see in a moment. Taisus and Saita makes the issue a little bit more complicated. Why is that? Because in the sugyas in Saita in Perik Ilan Amar Mechaloshin, it's a wonderful Geshmaka Alam Perik. We should learn it 1 year, because there's a lot of Marmakim going to get to all these issues of being Yatsa and Maitzi. There's a very interesting Gemara. The Gemara says, Amar Avonam Rav, Kivin Sheniftach Sefer Torah Asl Sapar Afil Dvar Allah. Rav, Amar Rava Bar Rav Huna. Rava Bar Rav Huna says, you're not allowed to learn Teskri Torah. Yesterday we said you're allowed to. Okay. Good Shailish. Namar, a pasuk somewhere in Chemia. Va'amdu pascham b'cholam b'ein amid el shtika. Halavai. Shenera oichal kiledever ki amdu le'onu. Amar Chisda v'hacha. Laznik cholam el sefer Torah. Shai. This halacha is thrown here into the middle of a collection of halachas here in a Perigul in the Martin says Taisvis. I have a steer in this. Rav Sheshes learned during Kriyas Torah. Taisus go down. Taisus, it's on page with base. Taisus Divya Maskla, you go. Give him this beautiful. So we have a steer here. The Gemara site says, "Give him to Niftach Asl Sapar Phil Dubar Torah." And here he says, "Sheshes would turn his face away." Why did he turn his face away? Turn his face away. Somehow that was to create some sort of COVID. The Garas, Amar Inu B'Didu V'Nam the Ilam has to hear Kriyas Torah, but once the Gedel Yisrael, we're learning here in this space message, I don't have to listen to Kriyas Torah. And I'm learning anyway. So how do you reconcile this steer in Shas? So Taisa says, I got to reconcile this. Maybe the fact that Mother Ape takes away any B'Zayin Torah, which is Rav Baruch Huna's problem. Inami, Sheshes Shani was the Havim Moirinaim. It was blind. We have Pater Mikriya, Shon Devar Mishum Ksav, Iyat or Yishayim Oila Peh.
The Gemara's lashon is it's also l'saper, which means it's somebody else involved. If he's sitting with a sefer learning, isn't that different?
Interesting. That's your touch of the word l'saper. I could touch the word l'saper means is Shashna Ksapara. Why is not Sipur learning yourself? He's saying nobody hears it. It's only here. The time of Chazal, learning was a much noisier operation. Why was it a noisier operation? Because not everything was printed and not everything was written down. So it had to be a dialogue. All the dialogue you see in the Gemara was talking to each other. So I'm not sure how to answer that question. Maybe the Rishonim say this. I did not look it up in every Rishon site here, so I do not know. But that's an interesting Ahara. Says Taisvis. Became the pattern of Kriya, Philip Shashmia, Aviyacha, Laasa, Bidvar Alacha. Come down with the Gain Daralacha. The Dvarim, Gang Dvarim Racha, the Alpeh. Inu Biditu, Dvarim Shabiksa. They says a fascinating chilik. They says there's 2 types of Torah. There's Torah Shabbat. the chiyuv, the kiyum, everything that the Eilam does in Kriyas Torah is Teresh Peh. The Teresh Peh. That's what you're learning. Learning Teresh Peh. When you hear V'nasnu Yishkai for Nafshay, V'vkaydei Sam, that's all you know. There's numerous drushes, and the Rambam is a whole the thing called Hilkish Golim. That's Teresh Peh. So it's two different dinim. Not only that, we have rules which govern the usage of this. There's Dvarim Shebiksav. You have to show Peh. I cannot get up and start reading Torah. That I may not even be able to write Torah. And with all sorts of questions that we learned 1 year. So Teresh Peh has its own halachas. Teresh Peh is something else. Miyum b'staver Perish Rach. So Taisa says these are the two possible ways to reconcile these two sugis. I have a third way to do it. Rach. In the HaRav is wrong. That's simply not nice. Because learning, as you said, often has to be conducted with back and forth. Not nice to talk when other people are trying to create Kriyas Torah. So Taisus has all sorts of different mahalchim. So the problem with this Taisus is, even if you're not mechuyev in Kriya, why should you not mechuyev in Shmiya? Shmiya is a default. Kriya is a higher level of Kriya. Everybody is Chiyav Kriya. Now I have to outsource that Chiyav Kriya to somebody else. Shmiya, I don't have to outsource to anybody. So Shmiya is a lower level. So Ein Achinami, that the person learning. Rav Sheish is in this case. Let's take what his sum aspect is. Rav Sheish in this case. Ein Achinami, he was putter from the halacha of a Kriya. Why should he not be chayiv in the halacha of Shmiya like the rest of the tzibur that's not chayiv ba'atzman? They're shemeya. Okay. Now, obviously, it depends on what the chiyuv is. If Taisus holds that the chiyuv is only Kriya and everybody's Yarchei Kriya, not a problem. Why? Because since Rav Sheish does not have an obligation to be chayrei, maybe the people were not a chavis yachid. Even if the chavis yachid, he doesn't have an obligation to be chayrei because he doesn't, because he's learning, and that part is him. And therefore, if he's not has an obligation, he's not being Yarchei, and therefore he's allowed to keep on learning while the rest of the tzibur is being Yarchei. This question here is raised and discussed by Rabbi Seinu Achrayim length. The Moshe, the Sivas HaKodesh, one of the Gedolei Yerushalayim of 2 days ago, and this is the Lamdisha action here. So let's start here with the race.
One other ha'ara. If you learn that Kriyas Torah is al Tzlimat HaTorah, on that side, if Rav Sheish was learning, so basically mitzvah patur a mitzvah, especially since it's Torah for Torah.
So isn't that striking that the Rishonim don't say that? Can somebody answer his question? You macham to kasha the Rishonim. A big deal in the Rishonim is learning party from all mitzvahs.
Right. That's why I pointed out
that no.
The answer is doesn't. But if you're learning that the whole chiyuv is al tzlimat haTorah, it's not learning connected other mitzvahs. It's learning connected learning. That's why I presented the question that way.
So good. Stay true as ever. And that's why it's so important that your box is open. I can talk to you because it's the way the thing is clarified. So Shlomo raises an interesting question. Why don't we say Yisik mitzvah? So we learned Grada Yisik mitzvah now Unzer Kallah. I'm making a advertisement for Unzer Kallah if you can. I know that you have a very chashuv job, so I don't want to impinge upon that. I have inside information, as Shlomo knows. But if it's advertisement to come learn with us on a steady basis. We learned Yisik mitzvah for a week or two, if I remember. One of the major issues in Yisik mitzvah is why isn't everybody pater? You have a chiyuv of a gisi malayli, you should be pater for all the mitzvahs. The Rishonim say, Taisus and Sukkah and otherwise, that Talmud Torah does not pater you, because otherwise there'd be no mitzvahs. And then the Kadosh Baruch Hu understood this, and Chazal understood this. So you must take a lulav, even though you can't just say I'm learning Torah. Therefore, that's good. If you have Torah versus taking a lulav, you're mechuyev not only to take a lulav, you're mechuyev to do all the Yarchei to create a lulav. Right? We to discuss this also. Can you not go? I said this is too much hassle for me. All this business, this week, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot is too much. I'm sitting out, and when it comes to Sukkot time, you don't have a sukkah. I don't have a sukkah. I don't have a lulav. What can I do? They can't do that because in addition to that, some being to the mitzvah, there's a chiyuv to be a macht yourself chayra into those chayim that produce the mitzvah. Says Shlomo, but if the whole Yisai, the whole Machayev Torah is only limud haTorah, so my Ulma high limud, mahai limud. Excellent question. So what's the answer?
Leave it at Sibir.
Two answers. One is the old yeshivish answer. You're right, and that's why there's dual Machayev of limud haTorah. There's both the Indian of limud and there's the Indian of Gimel Torah, but we know it's more than that because Gimel Yom Lei Torah is not solved by the other days, etc., all the problems that we raised in Yagdam Shiurim. And therefore, as you said, that we saw this verse in the Rishayim Rachainim, because Moshe Rabbeinu wanted us to Knufia B'tzibur to have something called Kriyas Torah. Whatever Moshe Rabbeinu Ezra understood the rest of the Kodesh Baruch Hu to be. That's not required. Learning Nefesh Chaim in your house by yourself. You'll say, good Shaila, are we being Mekayim Limud HaTorah B'Rabbim right now as we speak, Derech Zoom? Yes or no? So till 2 years ago, before everybody heard of Zoom, and I asked you this question, let's take it down here, let's move it back, shove it back 50 or 40 years. When Chashuv Rosh Hashiva say Shiur on the telephone, you to Talmud Torah B'Rabbim? Probably. You're not in the same room? Interesting question. Maybe over the Meshech HaDoros, I'm not going to tell you clearly that you can create a Nigdashti on a Zoom because L'chumra, it doesn't work. We can't daven on Zoom. All this came up, if you remember, during 2 years ago, during the Heilige, the Teg, when Kleinstrom was my Nefesh Mekayim, it's in the middle of a Magefa. No one is ready to say that you can be Yotzer Mitzvahs on Zoom because Davish B'Kedusha requires 10 people in a room at the same time. But Yesh La'ayin, are we being Mekayim that aspect of Talmud Torah that Shlomo was alluding to, of Talmud Torah Knufia B'Rabbim by doing it this way? Does Rabbim require us all 10 to be in the basement? So we thought about the Shaila and we decided what we're doing was organizing a trip to Israel next week. And there was Efshel L'Chaim Shneim. Absolutely. Whoever is there will be Chaim. Your mitzvah of Talmud Torah, the Kiddush Hashem of Talmud Torah, B'Rabbim Knufia. And I know it sounds hard to believe, but I picked up the FJJ this morning because it has a nice spread about the Yarchei Kallah, and I saw the cover. It says L'Kayim Shem Shemayim on it, describing the visit of Baruch March. What does that mean? Okay, so our friend Morty cited correctly that any haramas of the covenant of the Torah B'Tzibur is a Kiddush Hashem. So by showing up, you're creating Kiddush Hashem. Does that overcome all the horrible Chilul Hashem that we witness? And Rahman, we even participate. This is Rabbi Shalom's Ches. Everybody who learns Torah B'Rabbim is Mekayim Kiddush Hashem. I don't know about B'Yachid. This is already, we're going too far out of the topic here. Okay, back to this. Says Rabbi Yisrael, one of the great Galatian Gedolim in between the two wars. He was known as the Martyr Kallah Talmuda. He was officially, his job was Abez Nakruka, which, as you know, is one of the most famous positions in Jewish history. And Rebbe Engel has the following shaila in his Tziyunim LaTorah. This is I have to thank. I have voluminous separate files here on Kriyas Torah, having learned this once many years ago. I want to thank publicly our friends at Shifty because they did such a good job of just putting everything together. One of the things that they did here was they in order to make it easy to learn this Tziyunim LaTorah, put it back to the. Sometimes one shot. This is not the printed Tziyunim LaTorah. I have it. I'm sure many of you have the old set, the red set, and it has the old style print, which hard to read because we're spoiled. And they gave it to you a nice, beautiful big block print. This Tziyunim LaTorah here in Kallah test, as you can see, is very long. We have it printed here as 3 pages. Therefore, it would be a wonderful thing to be able to go through the whole thing, but I can't, so I'm going to have to excerpt a couple of paragraphs here because otherwise I'm not going to get too much further. In addition, Tonight, I'm just giving you a little bit of a heads up. Tonight there's an important letter from the Stipler, an Indian. There's important language in Prima Gadim, Gedashka Bakaidish, and the second tshuva of Ben Shlomo that we discussed. There's two tshuvas of Ben Shlomo, Lion Hay and otherwise. And there is, as I said, there is important svaras. Nirgus Moshe. The problem with Nirgus Moshe is, yet again, it's a very long shtick. So I'm not going to be able to do it this morning. There's also Hartzvi. Some of these things I managed to cram into the book. You can see it when you get the book. Hopefully it'll go out before the item leaves. So you can look at it even though you're not going to schlep it. So this is what I'd like to do today and tonight. Try to get as many of these daily achronims svaras in. Let's start here with the base of angle. And again, the question here is cup. Okay, Rabbi say the phone is ringing here. Right, so I'm gonna have to go on hold here for a second. I'll start looking at the first paragraph here because it's not simple, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, sorry. So Nista Pakti says, Mrs. Christer Ma in Yana, right to the point. This is the basic child. Everybody with me? So Grace Engel starts piling on Rayas here, and he speaks directly to the Raya that I wanted to bring. No, I'm going fast here on those things that you obviously are familiar with. Near Mizet, the Iker Mitzvah Krisatayru, Ach Lakai Mitzvah Tamatayru. Okay, Muchak the Mitzvah Shmielavad. Exactly the raya that I think that from what's brought. This is what you meant? Yes, often the raya. The Lina Mitzvah Tamatayru, Vada Iker Mitzvah, Achayidiyah, Avad Lavad. Right? Everybody will agree now, whether it's Talmud Torah with the Rabbim or not, we are learning Torah. Okay? Why? Because hopefully, by the time we sign off here in the next few minutes, you will now know that the shtickle of Tilma Torah raises this shaila, and you have your Yediyah Satira, wasn't this Rachev, and you're even doing this with Yediyah Satira because in the middle of the day you're taking your time off to learn. So you're Mekayim Talmud Torah. Everybody says that. You're not Mekayim Kriya Satira because we're not lady. You're Mekayim Kriya Talmud Torah. The Indian is to be, how does he say it? Yediyah Navana. And he brings a right from the guy. The guy asks a kasha. A masha because I'm kind of mahar with the return to Chlavarach. But what's the guy? You don't have to make a bracha. Here says the machaber and hilchos and simon and zayin hilchos kris and the brachas atayra. The Tama haksivik yisabav he going to believe. The hegen libi lefanecha. Ad kan the kasha, but what's the kasha of the guy? Nacharaya the Gemara in Erevin. The deal of Chachamim also to Torah tells us the cart. Only that's the kasha. Gemara learn Torah. Why should we do your Torah? He ain't named the chivu ala klach lirika is pashkam kolafam chayim berkutayr begam zeh kari mighty as cool up. Res Mengel then goes through Kedarka B'Kodesh 10 sugis. The first to bring rise to this. So we'll do a time check here. It's 11:57. I'm going to keep the Ilam with their permission a few moments longer because I'm going to try to take you through this beautiful Tzinum L'Taira. Not going to get to the Stipler in Cain, even though it's a small piece. I'm not going to be able to get to the other Achrayim. So tonight, I'm making a little bit of a plea to the Ilam, even though Thursday night we don't know. I'm sure you have other things to do. You can come on here so I can at least try to get through some of the other Achrayim. The reason why I decided to do this way is because the Tzinum L'Taira is quoted all around. So Beis Engel has such a clear way of writing. that you walk away with this understanding it. So Raya number one is from the Bavusta Gemara in Sukkah on the Anafas Sidurim. The basic Knesset Alexandria was a place like the Belzer base of Medrash, and therefore you couldn't easily follow. It was huge. You couldn't easily follow what was going on there. So Bresha says, I'm going to bring you a Raya that only that's important is the Shmiya. Why? Because Taisus and Sukkah, in the middle of discussing this flag event, says, line 3, Amen. Wow. The whole story there with the flags, the waving of the flags, was not davening. The waving of the flags was Kriyas HaTorah. Bingo. Near Mized, they don't even hear. Need flags. All you need to do is be Shaimeya, and therefore cut to the work. Second base angle, not so fast. Zuadain Kasha, Kapanam Kiyom Babracha, Mitzvahs Hashmiya, Klam Tkir Shaifer. Can I Kapana right say some Mazel? Madu Yel Amin Benaf Sikur Marshal. Inera, given the MS. Gram Berchas Atayr Shubabaker. Misapekes, I'll never retire. Shashim basically Satira. Since MS Berchas Atayra in the morning is Misapek. For the retira, element Kvaid has safe and Mitzibo Tikna Brachum Yucheres the Kairei. Who can be worse than Archaim, Alkarch, Shaimle Shaykh Zet. The Shabbat return by Bracha, Bain and Mishmiya, Mitzvah Ayhakriya. I can't forward anything. You'll have to ask my Shutafim to do that. And
No problem. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. I'll ask
okay.
the.
Gotta go. My flight to New Jersey.
I'll forward.
Shlomo,
I'll forward it to you.
Okay. Look forward to anybody who wants.
Anybody who wants it, I'll send.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Shmuel said that his flight to Newark was canceled, and then there's much shouts from Newark. How is he going to do that? How are you going to be able to get on the Newark flight much Shabbos? I tried to get that flight, but it's just too simply early after Shabbos.
I think he was planning to be in Passaic for Shabbos.
You can just jump to the airport.
So it would have been mamish, yeah.
Very tight.
Very tight, but he had.
What time is it? Like 8:40, 8:30?
8:50 is the flight.
8:50, and Shabbos is already over now. It's close to what time?
6:45. Rapino Tomsman is about 6:45.
So forget Rabbeinu Tam. Let's say you forget Rabbeinu Tam at 6:30.
6:30.
8:15, 7:15, and for an 8:50 flight. Yeah, okay. I asked Agav is whatever. I don't think from anyway. I asked the travel agent, why don't they move the flight an hour later from Newark, right? Because it's so much easier to fly from Newark than from Kennedy. And she says because they definitely want to have a flight for Goyim and Mechalei Shabbos. No comment. Let's go back to this, Rabbi Sai. So what do we do here? Marcha, do you have Rabbi Snyder's contact information? I'll invite him to Shabbos if you want to come here. That's it's my flight to Mizraim was just canceled. Okay, I assume he has mishpachim to say. Back to this. Ever hear the Shaila? So he says we have a problem here. You can't kapanam or might say isim bezem. Adu yoel amen benafis adur. Enachinavi on the mitzvah atzmai. You are maybe you only chiv and shmiyah, but what about the bracha? What about the bracha? Everybody has to hear the bracha on Tekiyah Shofar. How are you yaitz the bracha on Tekiyah Shofar? What you can't everything that you're being yaitz and Kallah Kula has to have a mechanism. So by what mechanism are you being yaitz? By what mechanism are you being yaitz here? Says the Gottesman, Then can a kapanam right might say some there's a kingdom is gonna Berkshire, but the pack as he says anyway Berkshire in the morning. So why would him attacking the brachas of Krister at all? Fight say for Tyra. Yes, we'll have to learn that separately. And therefore, it doesn't matter. Either one could be Yaitse. Because the only one who really has a problem with the bracha is the Kair himself. You are all pater from Berchas Torah of the Eila. You can talk during Berchas Torah of the Eila. According to this, maybe you could. You don't have no role in it. It's only for the Kair himself. This is big, but Rabbi Sai is a big battleground here because Rabbi Svengel says Kedara Pashut, we have no role in that bracha, not Muslim at all the Achrayim. Okay. And he says, I found a Rishon talks about this. But Tasi Rav Yah brings the Tasi Sukkah because of Tas Temahu to be Kriya Satay Rabbi Nami Lukulan Chayuba. Wow. This is a shtickle Ravi. I don't remember if we learned this Ravi in Tzibur and Yachid, but according to this Ravi, it would seem to be that it's a Chavas Yachid, but we delegated out to the 7 Kruyim, or the 3 people, or the 3 Eilim, on a Chayil. Okay. If you're looking for Lashain in a Rishain, here you go. And then he brings the important raya from a Tyson Rosh Hashanah. What does Tyson Rosh Hashanah say? Let's see the lashon inside. Miu yesh lidchais. The Rishus Yachal Haiti Bar Chiyuv Rabbanim Kamei Katan Varach Lav Perik Misha Mesa Veilim Minzai. So this is another problem because why should a cotton be able to be right to you? And then he brings a raya from Tainus, which I don't have time to go into. A raya from Psachim. This is classical Galciana mastery called to Kallah. And he finally references here a fascinating Radbaz. Radbaz says, brought here on page Dalit, Ein Radbaz, the Muchach Ktsas Mishitchias L'Shaynai. What he's telling you here is, time check will be done 12:15. Mishitchias L'Shaynai. I think what he's telling you is you can't be too much in this lesson. You're right that the Radbaz also holds it's a shmul. Then I have another problem because I found another Radbaz which seems to be Seisra. What's the other Radbaz? He says a summa ein chayil l'shmai shnai mikveh chatar v'yacher. Does a summa have a chiyuv of shnai mikveh chatargum of ma'amri d'sedra? You can't read it. Nebuch. So what do? Get somebody else to be mighty me with shemais. Says the Radbaz, no, not necessary. Why? Because shnai mikveh chatargum is a din in Varsh B'Ksav. And if you're a summa, unfortunately, Varsh B'Ksav iyatam rashamim laimer al peh, therefore he's pater. We don't find a mitzvah where you are where you're mechayev, you're pater b'asam mechayev rechem. Thank you, Rav Pesach. Since we're sending around these marmakaimis, as I said, it was enormously easier for us because the shifty marmakaimis were in one place. I'm making a public yeshakayach to them. Really generally, they in order to cover their costs, they charge for these marmakaimis and we download them and all that. So if we're using them, they have cooperated with us all the time. Whenever it makes it easier just to have these things. So I want to thank them allowing the Ilam here of these Hachanah to use their materials. Okay, so the Tzionah L'Torah says it can't be that you should be pater because you're a summa, and you should be required to get somebody else who might sue you. And Rav Sheshes, here we go. Sheshes was Mahader Ape. When came in my number, Rav Sheshes like we all know Rav Sheshes was like a basic Nebuch. He was blind. Maybe that's one teretz. I can't say. Muchach mizeh says the rest from this language of the Radvaz in the second tuva is muchach lehedya muchach. Maybe it's fairly that kriya mitzvah kriya satira karmite shmer gras. And therefore, Sheish is a potter because he was a saginar. And therefore, ein chayav latzis alidei karmite tziyai, because after that you should be potter, you should have to get somebody else to be you. Last 3 lines. Masha ein kenim neimar. That shmiya kol mitzvah. The whole mitzvah is only shmiya not to kriya. What's the difference of a saginar? Saginar is a lot of it can hear. Now you want to take it one step further. You'll say that Rav Shlomo Svara controls that it's the din of Talmud Torah. So it's not part of Talmud Torah. It's part from certain mitzvahs. There's machlekes in the Gemara how far that extends, but it's not part of all mitzvahs. So why should you believe in Talmud Torah? Da. And now he goes into Gederech Gedeli Galitzi into a side issue, but it's an interesting side issue. So we'll do one more paragraph here until we get to his closing. Big machlekes in the Chakira and the Achrayim that if you're honest mitzvah, say you potter, or you're chayev, just you can't do it. Big Chakira in the Achrayim. A lot of it is Seivev. Who's learning Daf Yomi on this call? Learning Daf Yomi. A lot of it is Seivev on the Sugin Chagiga of Chiger, when it's Pashet, the part of Maria, when the Chiv was Chal, all the Torah in the Achrayim based on the Rishayim about when you have a Chiv which was Nitcha, Avelis, Mechlekes and Rambam bring the Rosh, and voluminous Marmakaimus, this issue. Says the Riesman, I can bring a Raifa here that honest mitzvah say is potter. How do we know that? Because look at his language. Suma kivdi after question and rail came potter like shayach. Okay, he said not so fast. Maybe go through Rice and Rabban. Then he goes through a whole paragraph worth of questions Lagabi Suma and a whole paragraph of issues Lagabi Shiur in Talmud Torah, and then finally comes to a conclusion here. It's part of the next page. Previous suffix on the bottom of Tezvav. In a suffix hakadum in b'kriyas Torah shmiya mitzvah a mitzvah kol ech v'ech likar structure kar might say some kriyas. I bring you. I found it either from the Gedele and the Rishayim beginning of Achrayim Marie Bruna or Gedele Ashkas. Amelie Bandit, not Bandit. This is Bandit. In Germany, Bandit was a commonly used name. Most often, probably corruption. I have to look in the Shames Begitten. I would assume most often goes along which name. Anybody know? Right. So why? Why?
Translation?
I don't want to. Nobody give me the
Translation.
to the guy who recently had this name. From them, but in Latin, the word Baruch is. Anybody know? The famous piece of music from Mozart in this. Anybody know? Benedict. The Latin word for bracha is benedictus. So Bendit was a corruption of that. It was a Latin word name, and obviously it had traction in Western Eastern Europe, and it's paired with Baruch because that's the name it comes along with. Amelie Bendit, Shashalas Marie Weil, Hashemeim and Akari Kriyas Atayra Basic Knesses. Everybody listen to this silent. He asked Marie Weil. So this is the Doyer of the Gedele Kaisvei Nilgim in Ashkenaz, Marie Weil, Bruna, Maril. Hashemeim and Akari Kriyas Atayra Basic Knesses. Pam Achas de Mikro Philis. Get out of Shemites. V'heishev li the light yatsa. Like Jaime Scale Shmiya, but light liquid. Wow. It was right from the first Gemara Cheskes Batim, but the Gemara says Shmiya Kaimali Matzum Salad. Not sure what that Gemara Cheskes Batim is referring to. I didn't get a chance to do the Pesach. If you're on I don't know which daf it is. I can even ask you to put the Gemara about Basra. Let's hold that air for a second. And by the way, also, everybody, so before we finish, we'll be finished this shtickle on the Bruna in a minute or two or three. Before we leave, I want to put up Rabbi Eliezer Parkov's art to me because it was such a beautiful find. I'm not finishing today until his email goes up. Should have gone up at the beginning, but it is what it is. V'hinei mivu eres. Also, since there's a significant item here that was not here at the beginning, I'm going to go through the whole drasha that I gave about it the upcoming weeks before we close. So everybody give me 2 or 3 minutes to finish this shtickle, and 1 or 2 minutes, a minute or two to put up by Parkov, and a minute to chazar over the schedule. Hey, says the Rebbeinu Bang. Before we that's real Shmiyah mitzvah. Later when I go to Lake Christ, you learn to Kairin. Why should you not be once of the Shemais by Kriya? In the midst of the Kriya, you're being listening from the Al Kaira. Very strong raya. It's a raya that's only the Shmiyah. Here's the Gemara Basra. The Mem Gimel Amar Aleph. Says Rebbeinu Engel, Ich verstehe nicht der raya. We're talking about here Marie Vios, Marie Brunner, just Machlebek. But I don't understand this raya. For that, I didn't get a chance to look at Gemara Basra. I apologize. So if it can be put up, we can take a look at it together. If not, he said the Gemara knocked him. It says Shem Kriyas Torah. And let him that the Gemara just mentions what's going on. I mean, it says the words Kriyas Torah. Even though you guys are all big lump on him, and from now on for the rest of your life, when you hear the word Kriyas Torah, automatically be tricking your mind. Oh, does that mean Kriya? Does that mean Shmiyah? Because that's how you walk around all day being Miageh B'Torah. But that's not what the Vel says. The Shulchan Aruch says Kriyas Torah. It doesn't say Kriyas Torah. Yes, lachkam the Kriyas Shmiyah. Right from the left of the Gemara. Okay. And then he says, Vayinod Shut, the guest place is not here, and we miss him. Vayinod Shut Mri Bruna, Shukul Herichu, Herikudin Mikshik, Mashna Cotton. Shaila Kalim Yeshiva, Karatar Mirel Manteva. Cheers to Shmir time. This is one of the big problems here by size cotton. If there's a din of Kriya, how can a cotton be? Might see a Chaim Yidei Kavasa. The Rishayim struggle with this. They can't be Yard Manteva. There you go. Chimistalik nafsheminei mi mistalik v'tanya b'nei irshe nignoiv. I have to see the whole thing. I can't see it this way because my channel only comes up a few lines at a time. Okay, we'll do it the right way. So it's on the chat, Rabbi Saif. Those of you who have access to the chat. The b'nei irshe ain't done b'nei nasir ain't been arai man she'esir. The Risal South Bay Trade Nail then Shanshan Tefert L'Shmir Koi. Okay, I don't know. Actually, pretty nice raya. If it was a Russian Rishon, all the Achrayim would be Medaik in this lesson. Why can't Medaik in this Gemara? It doesn't mean L'Shmir Koi. It means L'Shmir Lagabi, this story of the stolen Sefer Torah, but not Lagabi this Shaila Chakir of Shmir. Okay. Anyway, he says, let's finish. So the cotton. Big problem here is the cotton. If they didn't kriya, how could a cotton be yaitz? V'tirates, that Torah l'shmiya kaim in a bracha v'atala kam kakush ma'ishna mikra Megillah, that a cotton cannot read the Megillah. So he says that what you saw in the lesson of the Rishayna before, Megillah is more chayav, and that he doesn't say because the Xer was on Nashon B'taf also afin everybody's a nest. He says a different var. The limud of the Gemara from Advar Meil and Nikra Ibn Asim, and therefore in Baruch HaMerkah Megillah, will Yal Shmis in Megillah. Mevuyer Mizeh, that the mitzvah is the Shmiyah. 1 second, everybody, please. I need another 5 minutes here to finish.
Gottesman, you're on mute.
I apologize. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, everybody say I'm sorry. Just to conclude here. As you can see, Rabbi Svengel comes more or less to the conclusion of more rayas from the Gemaras and the Rishonim that's the Chiyuv Shmiya as opposed to a Chiyuv Kriya. That's how he says. The biggest, maybe from my perspective, the biggest raya is the last one of a cotton. But the Rishonim deal with this. And now you have a pretty good overview of this house. Tonight, I will try to take you through 2 or 3 of the other approaches as explicated by Rabbeinu Stipler, whose house we will be Samach V'nira to, Mitzvah on Sunday, and Ramesha maybe, and the Sivas HaKodesh maybe Pesach, whatever we can cram in an hour tonight at 8 o'clock. Okay, everybody, so let me chazer over again the schedule, which is there will be an event in Bnei Brak. The exact details of it are being worked out by our stellar crackerjack staff. So please read your emails. Please read your emails. There will be emails going out in the course of today and before Shabbos with important information. As tonight there'll be a Hachanah Shiur, no Hachanah Shiur Mitzvah Shabbos. On Sunday, Rabbi Weiss will be speaking at the regular 12 o'clock time, no Hachanah before then. And the full schedule will begin on Monday. For those who are able to participate interactively, please watch your emails because you're going to get information on how to hook up, whether it's the regular Zoom line or another line. I know this creates confusion, but moving around sometimes requires things to be done differently. Please watch the emails. And Pesach, we'll make sure everybody gets, all the Kallah gets their emails both through Agudas Yisrael and through our internal email network. Try to get the Shiurim on 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and 11 o'clock will be Shiur clone next week. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go through this whole business again tonight. I'm sad that I was not able to put on Rabbi Eliezer's HaRav, but I will try to do that tonight, even though he won't be able to be on. And I will see Richard, hopefully everybody tonight, try to come on and watch your emails for the course of the week. We still can use some mimun of the gifts to Rabbi Kallah and Rabbi Weiss. We're short of our goal. Please try to be nana to directly to Dr. Lederach. Everybody have a good day, and I will see you tonight to Mitzvah at 8 o'clock.